I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On the program, has the Queen's passing altered your view of the monarchy?
No, it hasn't. It's still the monarchy.
It doesn't really affect me that much. Doesn't affect my view on the monarchy.
Just seeing all the support for the monarchy, I think that just shows that there's many people still interested.
I think it's going to be different having a king.
But first, the fallout following the trucker protests here in Ottawa and elsewhere has shown that many Canadians are perhaps not on the same page. Differing opinions over vaccine mandates and political tensions between East and West has caused some divisions in this country. So we sent our cameras out to ask Canadians what it would take to bring this country back to a more cohesive existence. Our question:
do you think Canada is a united country?
I think it is divided in a lot of respects because politicians and various levels of media get mileage out of leveraging that division. I don't think at our cores we're any more divided than we used to be. But there's a lot of levers that are being pried into those cores to wedge us apart for short-term gains, which turn into long-term setbacks.
Yes, sure. That's why actually I migrated here from my home country, so I know the place is safer, much more safer than the many countries of the world. So it is also united, and the freedom is there, freedom of speech that I am talking to you is there, and freedom of citizens is there. So I like it, and this is a great country.
Yeah, I think Canada's a united country. We've got petty squabbles, what I label as stupid stuff. I really don't think we have any major issues that we can't talk about. Politicians try to make something out of a particular issue to get elected or to talk to their base or whatever they think they're doing. And it's annoying, but I think Canada is quite united as a country still.
I think that we are moving farther and farther apart. Unfortunately, I think at the root of Canadians, I think if we were able to talk to each other outside of the polarities of progressive and conservative labels, I think we would find that our values are actually probably a lot closer. I think that we still share a lot of the same values.
I'd say I used to think so more than now. I think the pandemic brought up a lot of division that we didn't realize was there. And I think that we've always prided ourselves on like Canada is supposed to be like, you know, the stereotypically kind country, and I just think that we still have a lot to work on.
No, not at all. I think we're kind of going more towards the way of the US, where, waiting for that motorcycle, where there's like two sides, like you kind of saw with the trucker protests, there was like a very divided nation. So I think we're worse than we were a couple of years ago for sure.
I wish it would be. I hope it will be. At this point right now, there's a lot of outstanding issues there, but in the end, we always will be. I'm trying to be very optimistic about a lot of things.
Yeah, you know, I'm mixed on that one. I think there's a lot of great national patriotism within our country. We have the pleasure of traveling coast to coast. We actually have a home in Nova Scotia, and so we get to see kind of the true sides of things. I think Quebec always seems to be a bit of a wild card, but it feels more united now than it has in the last 20 years, I would say. I think the pandemic has brought people, sadly, closer together in many different ways. And other events like the recent one in the hurricane out in Atlantic Canada, you know, you've seen a huge outcry and support from across the country. So I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good about where we sit.
I don't get the feeling of unity in this country for some reason. Maybe it's because of the size. I mean, we're so different from one coast to the other. I mean, I've traveled to other countries where they're smaller. They seem to be more united than we are, particularly with Quebec, and they are always one. Even though it seems to be now in the past, it still lingers that possibility that in the future they might want to separate. I never got that feeling from any other country that I've been in, to tell you the truth.
I think overall we are. I think the COVID-19 actually was a good test for that. We tended to be quite united for the most part. Generally the sort of people against it were generally on the fringe. So yeah, I think that we're generally united. but we do squabble a bit about the little things.
As united as any other country. We have our differences and let's relish them. And that's the best answer I can give. We are together. We're Canadian and proud of it, mostly.
Yes, I do, generally. I think the things that we saw in February, the protests here in Ottawa, were, okay, they're indicative of a certain percentage of, the population that think a certain way, but far from the majority. And I think, Canada is a united country. We're a diverse country, a lot of different points of view. But when push comes to shove on the larger issues, we're a united country.
Oh, absolutely. There are people that disagree with other people and the way things are done, but there are a lot of things that bring us together, Hockey is one of them, and sports, but overall, the majority of Canadians, I think, are united together.
I think there's a lot of different opinions, and hopefully people can respect differences without conflict.
It's becoming less so. I think that the Trudeau government has alienated Alberta, and that's a very bad thing.
We've had some time now to process the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. After such a long reign, 70 years on the throne, it is now time for a future generation to move the monarchy forward. But all hasn't been going as smoothly as you would think here in Canada. Members of the Quebec National Assembly have refused to pledge allegiance to King Charles III, who was also King of Canada as well as King of the UK. It's safe to say she's a hard act to follow, but as we become accustomed to a new king, do you feel the same as always about the royal family, or have things changed? Our question.
Has the Queen's passing altered your view of the monarchy?
I would say not particularly, but it's also opened my eyes to a lot of things. I think since her passing, I've done a lot more research or learning about the monarchy, that's for sure. How about you?
I think it's going to be different having a king. I really think it's going to be different. We've had a queen for so long, and she was so amazing at it. So we'll see how King Charles does.
No, it hasn't. It's still the monarchy. I'm still happy to have her on our money, and I think that having them in with Canada is something that's part of our heritage. And if to have that taken away from us, I don't think that's right. I think that I'm with them, because if something ever happened, we always have a backing, and that's the way we have to look at it. At least we're not alone.
Yes, because obviously she was the core of the whole monarchy in England and everything, and now with her passing, we don't know how Charles is going to rule and how are things going to change.
No, it's just sort of been inconsequential. It's just sort of been, the Queen existing. It was always just a picture on the wall kind of thing. It was just not a huge deal in terms of impact on my life.
I guess it's gonna lose a bit of fame. And to me, I really like to follow the Queen's life, and now I don't really care so much.
I wasn't really following either, but I know for me the symbol is less the monarchy itself, more than it's more the Queen of England. And so now that she's gone, I feel like it's going to have less international influence maybe. But I wasn't really interested at the beginning, so that might not change.
It's reinforced my view of the monarchy. I think she was a great lady. I know not everybody supports the monarchy, but family history, I've grown up with that over the years. My mom's originally from the UK. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for her particular efforts. And going forward, I'm hoping King Charles can continue in his mother's footsteps. I think he's had a lot of preparation time. And I think things will go along apace and perhaps, get even better. I think she did a stellar job, 70 years of service, and I think most people really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I had great respect for the Queen. I think she was a fantastic lady. The monarchy will change because we're in different time, and people look at things differently. So I think there will be some change, but basically in the past it worked well, Our system in Canada worked very well, copied after the British system, of course, and the Queen played a very important part in all that. And Canada was very close to her heart. And we respect the Queen, but the monarchy, I think, will change.
I think just seeing all the support for the monarchy, I think that just shows that there's many people still interested.
Well, I am probably biased because I come from Morocco and Morocco has a king. So I am a pro-monarchy person. I think the monarchy has always been held in high esteem. And I think it represents the societal's values. And here in the West, I think the monarch plays a major role. And the Queen probably is the most famous woman in the world. And I think her passing has been a grief for many people. So I don't think it changes my views over the monarchy, but I think I view the monarchy highly all the time.
It's a figurehead. Really, in today's modern world, it serves no purpose. I mean, if they want somebody for the tourists to go see in Buckingham Palace, then give them Meghan Markle, but not a royal, just because she's a, half of a television star or whatever the heck her claim to fame is, or maybe Kim Kardashian. Maybe they should stick her in the Buckingham Palace. But the royalty, all the expense that it causes the Brits, and then it's just such a 12th century idea. It's done. We're just done with that.
No, not really. I mean, it's always been there. The monarchy's just there in my eyes. They're not really helping or hindering us in any way, shape, or form. So the Queen's passing is, in my eyes, almost negligible. It doesn't really affect me that much. Doesn't affect my view on the monarchy. So,
No, it hasn't. I wouldn't say it's been a long time coming there, but again, she's the longest serving monarch. But then again, too, there's always been somebody in for succession. And all I can see are ongoing things that have been just as great for everybody that she's provided for us, and I'm sure he will as well.
Canada consists of how many distinct regions? 4, 5, or 6?
4.
4? 4. I'm gonna go with 4. I think I'm wrong, but I think it's 4.
I'm gonna say 4. 4 regions, like East Coast, West Coast, and then center and somewhere else. I don't know.
4. 6. 5.
The answer is 5.
Wow.
You did it.
Thank you.
Good job. At roughly 10 million square kilometers, Canada is the second largest country in the world and is made up of 5 distinct regions. They are the Atlantic provinces: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Central Canada, comprised of Quebec and Ontario. The Prairie provinces: Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. The West Coast, British Columbia. And the North, which includes Yukon Territory, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. To say the circumstances surrounding Hockey Canada have been a mess is an understatement. Following months of chaos which resulted in sexual assault allegations, as well as their CEO and board of directors resigning, Hockey Canada is looking to redefine itself and its leadership, and looking to regain the trust of Canadians. We took to the streets to ask Canadians about the predicament this organization finds itself in and how we can correct past mistakes moving into the future. Our question: does Hockey Canada need a fix? What should be done?
I think they do, because it's like there's been years of like the gender norms and whatnot, like women don't get paid the same, and like there's also all these allegations about them. So I think there definitely needs to be like some kind of change. It's all like older people. I think we need some younger people to like get in new ideas and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure, because that's very wrong. And it's alarming for Canadians, like what's really happening. So yeah, they do need a fix.
I don't think a few board members stepping down actually resolves the issue, which is a culture of toxic masculinity that has been running through Hockey Canada for decades and decades, and of course it needs an overhaul. Of course, yes, 100%.
Absolutely. It needs to start from the top down because they're the ones making the decisions, right? So that's my opinion, at least.
Yes, but they're already on the mends with that, just, dealing with, the board stepping down and stuff like that to take care of those situations. They definitely needed to take that approach.
Yeah, they need a fix, and all the old folks that are in there need a clean slate, frankly. They've been there, had time to change it, nothing.
I think with the recent changes in the, let's say, the leadership in Hockey Canada, some changes will be coming along because public opinion is pretty strong. And if things have gone wrong and they've been covered up with slush funds to pay off folk, then it really needs to be addressed.
I'm thinking the people have lost confidence, even the business world too, they've lost confidence. And I think the best thing to do is to replace a lot of them. There should be a total overhauling of the entire system from up to down in order to restore confidence back into to the public.
Well, I understand that there's going to be a new board of directors, and wherever the new board of directors leads them, I hope it does make the fix that's needed to build back the confidence that was Hockey Canada.
Definitely think it needs a fix. Very disappointing hearing what's going on, and I think the board of directors resigning was a good start.
I mean, I certainly think there needs to be a fix to the culture surrounding hockey. I think it's definitely a lot of time, that children will spend in an activity. I certainly think there need to be safeguards in place and a lot of thought and consideration given to how to approach, a proper cultural fix within the sport.
I definitely feel like it needs a fix, especially when it comes to sexual assault. I don't like to hear about anybody being assaulted. So if the organization can clean house, that would be amazing.
I mean, it's something you have to chisel away at over and over in every testosterone-based sport. It just happens. And the coaches, the management, they get caught up in it too. So you just got to keep chipping away. I don't know if, replacing the entire organization is the answer. Perhaps training, better understanding of what's going on and why it's happening, and help the players to avoid it.
It shouldn't be taken lightly, and when you have that sort of power and you're sweeping that under the rug, it's really disgusting, especially from our perspective. Myself, I don't really watch hockey, but for anyone who does, it's really disappointing to see, and they really need to, make up for their actions, even though they can't make it up because it's something like this you can't really undo. But there really needs to be a fix for something like this.
Well, whenever there's a problem, you look at the leadership, and so a change in leadership might be a good strategy.
Hockey Canada should be fixed, of course. It has to be less men, more women. Definitely part of the problem is entitlement, and men seem to feel they're entitled, and that has to stop. And I hope that this generation, my son being 41, has been taught to respect.
Change the entire managing staff. I think it's going that way, and start fresh and get some staff that can handle that and more deeply, like take care of the staff, the players, and be more responsible for all what's going on, and not just wash their hands after the facts and without saying what's going on, and when even if they know some of the cause or whatever. So, yeah.
It appears Alberta's new Premier Danielle Smith will make sure the federal government has its work cut out for them when it comes to matters involving her province. She reaffirmed her resolve for the Sovereignty Act, which looks to push back on federal legislation she feels will compromise her province's economy or violates the rights of its citizens. In a nation that already has clear political divisions from east to west, are you concerned about how things will develop in the months and years to come? Our question. How worried are you that demands by Alberta could trigger a constitutional crisis?
I mean, at the moment, I'm not too worried. I need to look over the specific act. I don't really have many friends living in Alberta or people that I know about through that way. It sounds to me like if they want to have more provincial powers, like it depend on the issue. I think certainly for some issues, like say environmental issues, I would like to see that more like on a federal issue, be able to apply something like a uniform across the board. We know greenhouse gases can cross like provincial borders, so something like that would be more of a federal issue. But then maybe there is like a more specific like provincial issue that they'd want to have some more say on, like even like looking at Quebec. Why are they wanting some more provincial kind of room to move? It's maybe because of more cultural issues like language or things that are specific to Quebec. So I guess it depends on the issue entirely.
Not at all. I don't think the majority of Albertans actually want that. So I think that they've got a very vocal, unelected as well, premier who is catering to a minority. So that's my personal opinion. I'm not confident that will trigger a constitutional discussion even, so no.
Well, I would always, I think some of her comments have been a little ridiculous, and I would be concerned that any province, including Quebec, when we went through the situation with Quebec and their sovereignty, the strain that it would put on the country, socially and economically.
Yeah, she needs to step down already. Yeah, her opinion's not. I don't agree with her opinion. She came in really strong, just stepping into Jason Kenney's place right away, and just jumping in like that it's gonna be scary for Alberta.
I'm not too worried, to be completely honest. I haven't heard of it, and I don't know. The Quebec separatist movement has been there for countless years with no traction, so I don't see much going in that direction either.
I think people should have the right to choose, right? And I think when you take that away from them, that's when people get anxious. They get worried about other freedoms being taken away from them. I mean, it is a slippery slope, right? If we then start saying that like everybody should be mandated to get vaccinated. I think it should be. I think those sort of things should be placed on the rights of the individual to choose to choose their own health and safety. Yes.
No, I don't think so. This anti-vax issue is going to be around forever. Alberta is going to be around complaining and wanting to have their own show for a lot of things. Perhaps there'll be a constitutional change, as I recall, similar to what Meech Lake was proposing some years ago, which would have given the provinces more authority over themselves. So I don't think we'll have a crisis. I think we might have a change.
Well, I noticed that within days or hours of becoming premier, she's backed away from the central issue, and she said that her government will respect Supreme Court of Canada decisions, and that essentially is the rule of law, which she must do. Her prior proposals were ridiculous.
I don't think it's a constitutional crisis. One needs to reserve that language for things that are really compelling and would have enormous consequences for the country. And, we have a prime minister who's actually quite good at negotiating. And, historically, we've wanted to have peace with the West, recognizing there are regional differences that need to be respected. So there needs to be a middle ground somewhere. So I think that's what we're hoping for.
I don't think so. I do believe in all vaccinations, but what they're doing with the oil, it should be independent from Canada or be for the greater good. It's like the Premier Legault. He's pretty well independent. He's running his own show, and the province of Quebec is prospering like never before. So Alberta, if they let them without interference from the federal government, they'll be in the same status as Quebec and what Ontario used to be. And Ontario's on the right track now with Ford.
Alberta can go do what they want to do. I think Canada has to come together as a country and unite. Quebec's gone through this. I felt the same way with Quebec, and I lived there myself. I grew up in Quebec, but Canada has to unite as a country. We are all in one world, and you can't pick and choose. You have to be one.
This is kind of something that's been going a long time. You know, Alberta talking about wanting to secede, and I mean, it's never been taken that seriously, I think, because it's kind of an untenable proposition in my opinion. And plus, there's also like Quebec has been trying to secede for how long, and they haven't gotten out, and they've got a federal party, and now Alberta's doing this. It feels a little bit like a tantrum. Like it's less about succeeding and more about being like, look how upset we are. To me, at least. I don't know. It seems like it's not going to actually progress anything.
I don't think Alberta can make a difference. Like there's a change in leadership now in the premiership, but I don't think that will make much difference in the federal. So I don't think that will really affect the constitution in any way at all. The political class can make some noise, but I don't think that will go a long way to make a difference or to cause a constitutional crisis at all in the federal level.
I think with new leadership in Alberta, I think certain things were said which probably will be retracted now. They were very popular in the election campaign, and I think there may be some backtracking.
I'm not that worried because I think there are enough people who can see through the get elected ploy from Danielle to make her think that things could happen, but things are going to switch over, and she now has to get elected provincially, not just within her own party.
I think the rhetoric will be toned down now that the leadership has been decided. I would like things shaken up with Ottawa. Alberta just wants a fair shake.
Not worried at all. It's all hyperbole for a voting base. She won't be able to contravene the constitution of the country.
Frankly, I don't know enough about constitutional law to say whether it would cause a crisis. I would be fairly skeptical that it would cause an actual constitutional crisis versus simply being challenged in court and being struck down.
No, I think it's easier said than done. I think that just saying that you're going to say no to everything the federal government said is easy to say, but when it comes down to doing it, it's a different story. But I wish her good luck.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.